What if the most profound lessons, the deepest insights into how life really works, aren't just hidden away in old texts or complicated research? What if they're actually unfolding right in front of you every single day? Today, we're diving deep into this really fascinating idea, the concept that divine parables, sort of observable lessons, are constantly being presented to us in real time, in our daily lives, in the world around us. Think of it like a universal curriculum that's always there, always visible.
Exactly. And our exploration today draws heavily from sources like the striking of parables and observable Qur'an, and also the visible parables, beyond the written word.
Yeah.
These texts offer a really powerful reinterpretation of a key verse. And such are the parables we set forth for mankind, but none will understand them except those of knowledge.
Those of knowledge, okay.
Right. So our mission, really, for this deep dive is to try and understand how these observable parables work. Why are they seen as universally accessible? And crucially, what are the implications for us as individuals and for whole societies when these lessons are followed? Or, maybe more importantly, when they're ignored? We'll look at some very vivid examples from the material.
Okay, let's unpack that then. The sources basically ask right off the bat, if these parables are being set forth, where are they? And what does it actually mean that only those of knowledge will get them? It sounds like it implies a different kind of seeing, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The groundbreaking argument here is that these parables aren't just abstract metaphors, or things you only find in the written Qur'an, the Qur'an al-masṭūr. Instead, they're described as visible, lived realities, what the sources call an observable Qur'an, the Qur'an al-manẓūr. It's presented almost as a mirror image of the written text, playing out all around us constantly.
A mirror image. That's a powerful way to put it. But why is it so important that they're observable? What's the issue if they were just in a book, say?
Well, the material makes a really strong case about potential injustice. It poses the question, how could these divine lessons be truly fair or accessible if they were only in a written text? Think about it. What about someone illiterate, like the narrator's mother mentioned in the sources? She couldn't read. How would she access them?
Right.
Or think about today, 2025. What about the, 7 billion non-Muslims who've likely never even seen a written Quran?
Good point.
Or even the billion or so Muslims worldwide who don't speak classical Arabic, India, Pakistan, across Asia. And heck, even among Arabs, interpretations of the written word can vary wildly, right? There are disagreements.
So it challenges the idea that the written word alone is enough for universal guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sources basically say the problem isn't with the message. The flaw is within our minds for not recognizing these visible, observable parables. The argument is they are so universally accessible that literally no one has an excuse. Not the illiterate person, not someone living deep in the Amazon. Doesn't matter what your religion is, your gender, your status. These lessons are just there, woven into reality.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. If these are observable laws, how do they actually play out in individual lives? Can you give us some concrete examples? Make it real.
Sure. One really striking example the sources use is what they call the drug addict's descent. They describe, a healthy young man full of life who gets into drugs. And over time, you see this visible transformation. He becomes thin, sick, eventually begging on the street.
A tragic story we've all seen, unfortunately.
Right, but the sources frame it differently. It's not just tragedy. It's presented as a set of laws that brought him to that state. A clear illustration of a principle. This plus that equals this result. Cause and effect, visibly demonstrated, and, crucially, no turning back once those laws have fully played out.
So the implication for the listener is, if you're that, say, well-dressed, focused young man who studies or works, and you witness that decline, the sources are saying that visible decline is a law speaking directly to you. It's telling you, don't fall into the same trap. It's like the person who ignores the lesson actually becomes the lesson for others.
Precisely. For those who have the knowledge or the insight to see it. Another powerful example is the cheating CEO's exposure. This involves the CEO of a major American company. He was caught, apparently on camera, embracing his mistress at a public concert, very public. And the result, he lost everything. His family, his career, his reputation, gone.
Wow. So again, connecting it to the listener. If you're maybe living with your wife and kids in peace, but secretly supporting a mistress, the sources are saying that CEO's public downfall is a parable. It's meant for you.
Exactly. They state it very bluntly. The laws don't lie. And that camera that caught him. They argue it wasn't just random chance. It was part of the law's unfolding, an instrument of observable truth.
So it's not just bad luck, it's the system working.
That's the perspective, yes.
Yeah.
And the consequence of ignoring such a clear, visible warning, the sources say, is that eventually, one day, your own book will complete.
Your own book, like your life story reaches its conclusion based on your choices.
Sort of, yeah, like a personal ledger being finalized. It implies an inevitable outcome where your choices are exposed and the consequences manifest disgrace, being alone, losing respect in society. It all comes out.
It's quite sobering, and it applies to everyone. I mean, the narrator in the sources even shares a very personal struggle, which I think makes it relatable.
Oh, absolutely.
They say something like, "Personally, I've been smoking for over 20 years. Laws keep presenting me with parables. Look at so-and-so who developed cancer from smoking. Yet I persist, even though I feel the changes inside me." That really hits home, doesn't it? It shows how even when the observable laws, the consequences are right there, like seeing someone get sick from the very thing you're doing, human nature, habit, maybe addiction, can make us ignore them.
It underlines the point that no one is above this. We all face these observable lessons, whether we choose to see them or not.
Okay, so we've talked about individuals. What happens when we zoom out? How do these observable laws apply to, say, entire nations or societies? What does this framework tell us about that level?
Well, the sources argue the laws speak just as loudly on the societal level. For societies living under, say, tyranny, a one-party system, or military rule, the warnings are clear. They state that if such societies don't learn the lesson from what happened to other nations in similar situations, they face another, quite stark, law. There is not a town but we will destroy before the day of judgment, or punish with severe torment.
That's intense. And they connect this directly to our time, the 2025 context, right?
T2, it's very direct. They basically say, if you live under tyranny or one-party rule right now, in 2025, look around. Look with your own eyes at what happened to other nations under those same conditions.
What kinds of things?
Things like civil wars, societal collapse, going backwards developmentally, regression. The warning is explicit. Take heed before the book completes for your own nation, before those same inevitable consequences unfold for you.
So learn from history or be doomed to repeat it, essentially, but framed as an observable divine law.
Exactly. And this ties into another powerful principle they highlight. If you return to misguidance, we will return to punishment. It's presented as a cycle. The sources point to many Arab countries, for example, as suffering consequences now because, in their view, they chose paths like sectarianism or superstition instead of adhering to these observable divine laws for societal health.
Can you give an example of that?
Well, they use the example of the Syrian people. They note that after trying to break free from long-standing one-party rule, the society tragically fractured along sectarian lines, Sunni, Shia, Druze fighting each other.
A terrible outcome.
Terrible. And the sources argue that this outcome illustrates the futility of simply swapping one tyrant for another, or falling back into the very sectarian divisions that weaken a society. It's like pouring water on sand, they say. It achieves nothing lasting because it ignores the fundamental laws of social cohesion.
So if that's the path not to take, what do the sources suggest is the constructive path for societies, according to these observable laws?
The material consistently points to the model exemplified by the Prophet Muhammad, a path emphasizing pluralism, law, and consultation. Basically, inclusivity, justice, and shared decision-making. The argument is that societies that fail to follow this kind of path, that ignore these principles, are inevitably setting themselves up for recurring suffering. History becomes a repeating lesson.
And the consequences aren't just theoretical or for the afterlife.
No, not at all. The sources are very clear that hell isn't just some future concept. It manifests here and now. It's the chaos, the war, the mental slavery under oppressive ideologies, the economic ruin that happens in this world for those societies or individuals, the disbelievers, who actively go against these fundamental, observable divine laws.
It seems these laws operate at every scale, from the global down to the personal. Do the sources go even more fundamental, like into the basic structures of our lives, maybe even our homes?
They do, actually. They emphasize that the home is the foundation. It's seen as a foundational parable itself. By understanding the principles that create a stable, safe, well-structured physical home, we can then, by analogy, understand the larger concept of the house of God, the spiritual framework where true safety and guidance are found. The small scale reflects the large scale. It's like seeing the blueprint.
And there's that striking analogy about the spider's house, too.
Yes, the spider's house analogy, it's quite profound. The sources detail how a spider spins its web, its house, from just flimsy thread. It looks intricate, maybe, but it's incredibly fragile, easily destroyed.
Right.
In the Qur'an and in these interpretations, this fragile house represents any person, group, or system with a weak foundation or ideology. Especially, they note, those who take protectors besides God. Anyone relying on something inherently weak or false. It's a powerful, visible warning about building your life or your society on something that ultimately offers no real support or strength.
It really paints a picture of a universe governed by intricate, observable laws. The sources seem to stress the meticulousness of it all.
Absolutely. They really emphasize the greatness of the Creator in this detailed planning. They state things like, everything was meticulously planned even before the first breath. And a key point they reiterate is fairness, that the Creator never wrongs anyone, no matter their religion, gender, or status. The outcomes we see, good or bad, aren't arbitrary punishments or rewards. They're presented as the natural built-in consequences of aligning with or ignoring these ever-present observable laws.
So to kind of wrap this all up, the central, really powerful idea here is, while you might have the written Qur'an at home, and the sources call it the easiest book on earth, the real text, the most accessible one, is actually life itself, reality unfolding around you. It's like you're being invited to see God's breath, as they put it, in every domain and every daily movement.
And the impact of grasping this is huge, according to the sources. They conclude that potentially 90% of the problems facing individuals and society stem from this very verse, or rather from the failure to understand and heed the visible parables it speaks of.
90%. That's staggering.
It is. But there's also a promise. They suggest that whoever truly starts to take heed from the observable Qur'an, from these real-life lessons playing out, well, they will automatically find themselves living in sync with the principles of the written Qur'an. The lived experience illuminates the written text.
It brings everything together. So for everyone listening, maybe the final thought to reflect on is this. As you go about your day, your week, what parables, what observable lessons have you actually been witnessing, maybe without even consciously realizing it, that might be trying to guide you? And based on what we've discussed, what might be the laws you can now see at play, leading towards those inevitable outcomes, maybe with fresh eyes? It really encourages you, doesn't it, to keep observing, keep reflecting on the world unfolding right in front of you, because the deepest lessons might just be there, visible and active, waiting to be understood.